Test 1, 2. Test 1, 2. For those of you guys wondering what the heck is going on, I'm testing out some new YouTube options and trying to make the next actual live streams a lot better. So I'm hoping that if this goes through okay, there won't be any more problems with lagging or anything like that. We'll see how well that works out. Check, check, 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Wow, that's way too hot. Check, check, 1, 2. Test 1, 2. Check, check. All right. So far, so good. Yeah, Preston, pretty much a random Q&A. So if those of you guys that are not familiar with this, basically I always get flooded with tons of great questions, and I just don't really get a chance to answer them all as much as I would like to. So this is really my way of being able to take some time and answer questions, whether it's about DMX or video, DJing, school dances, whatever the case may be. And now's your chance to ask questions, and I will answer them as fast, honest, and bluntly as possible. Now, the frame rate of this video may jump up and down. Weird things may happen. Random things may pop up on screen. Just kidding. No seeds are going to jump up. I don't even know why I got cilantro. But no, just random things may be happening because I am trying to experiment with different things on YouTube. Sorry. I don't know what's going on lately, but YouTube seems to not like any live streams. I've had some issues. I know John Young had some issues the last time I logged in. Maybe it's just me. Maybe my connection just brings everything down with it. So I don't know what the deal is. I also wanted to kind of go into this now instead of tomorrow because I was getting everything planned for tomorrow's Q&A. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a late night event. At 9 p.m. I have an event. It's a lock-in. So it's pretty much from 9 at night till 2 in the morning. Then I got to drive an hour and a half back home, get an hour of sleep, and get up for an 8:30 in the morning prom. It's a prom for a special needs portion of one of my big schools, and they didn't get a chance to go to prom. So we're just going to put some a little bit, special for them. No lighting or anything like that because it's at 8:30 in the morning. What I should be passing out are Starbucks or Keurig cups. But yeah, that should be a lot of fun. So again, for those of you tuning in, very impromptu last minute stuff. So if you guys are not familiar with it, all you have to do is post any questions below and I will do my best to answer them as quickly as possible. Scott McBride is asking for, he says, looking for a good pin spot solution, and then it just says use the. Your message didn't go all the way through, Scott, so if you wouldn't mind just reposting that. But as far as pin spots, I have been using the ADJ Pin Spot Go. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to post some photos of that. So let's see here. So what I like about the Pin Spot Go is it does have a really long battery life. You have lenses so you can really shape which way the pin spots go, or have like a little filter on it. But you also have different levels of brightness. You have the little remote control for it. I'm not a fan of the remote control because I turn one on and then like 3 on the other side are turning off. So what I do is I dim it all the way down and then dim them all the way up, and that way it controls all of them at the same time. Don't use a standby. But let me show you what that looks like. Check, check. There we go. So as you can see, the pin spots are pretty much invisible because they are hanging from the ceiling. Now you can hang them with a magnet, and as strong as that magnet is, I'm not a fan of just using a magnet only, but it basically has like a little scissor clamp that grips around the dropped ceiling tiles, or the drop ceiling tiles. You also have a mount where you can put a safety cable, so if you use a magnet, you can still safety cable it, and you also have the holes so you can put a regular clamp, so you can even do it from trussing as well. That's the ADJ Pin Spot Go. I like it. It's bright, and the pack is even better because it comes with a neat little carrying case. So, Michael, hopefully that answers. Not Michael. Sorry, Scott. Scott says he used the ADJ Octabeam WW, but they stopped making them. Look at the Pin Spot Go. I promise you won't go wrong with that. Super awesome. Really small, portable, battery powered. And the little chargers have like a little LED on them that actually show you, whether it's charged or not. So there's no guesswork there. Michael Janusz, I'm sorry, I know I butchered that, says, I have a school dance coming up soon. I want to try to hype for the first time. Any tips? I have 2 tips. 2. Okay. Tip number 1. Make sure that whatever you do, whatever you say on the microphone, that you are comfortable with. Do not try to speak teenager if you're not comfortable using a lot of the slang. If you don't use it in your daily language or whatever the case may be, just don't even try it, because you're going to come off as a giant dork, right? So don't be like, all right, we're going to do a slow song, grab your bass. You see how stupid that sounded? It's going to sound even dumber on the microphone. All right. Hype them up as you normally would. Don't try to sound cool, because you're not. And I see a lot of people trying to make that mistake. It's even the ones that do it naturally. It's one of those, you got to feel comfortable with it. It's got to be part of your natural language, or it's not going to sound natural coming out, right? Also, try not to be too repetitive, and I think a lot of DJs are very guilty of that. Put your hands up, put your hands up. Okay, why am I putting my hands up? Not everything involves me putting my hands up. Am I putting my hands up to clap? Am I putting my hands up because I'm a senior? Am I putting my hands up because this is my song? Whatever the case may be, you got to make sure you have a reason of why they are putting their hands up. But again, don't get repetitive. And my other second tip is, it's a plug, but screw it. Get my Master School Dances series. As a matter of fact, the whole set is on sale for $199, which is $100 off the normal price. Or you can get just a video on the day of the dance for $75. But I'm telling you, get the $199 set. It's going to just rock your world. It's going to... telling you, I promise you, it'll teach you not just what to say, what to do, what to wear, what to smell like, how to talk, how to sell, how to take photos, how to market. But that hyping video will pretty much focus on exactly how to have the best school dance you've ever done, ever in your whole life. But it really all comes down to what you're comfortable with. Because if you're really, you want to step out of your box, don't get me wrong, but if you feel like, I feel really stupid saying this, well, you're going to come off really stupid saying that. So just something to think about. That's a really good question, though, Michael. Let's see. Matt Christensen says, what does it cost to have gobos made on average? Well, I paid about $69, give or take, and I use Pro Gobo, and I like them because I can get gobos made the same day. They're also local to me, and I've had a couple times where, actually I had one of them, no joke, where they gave me the wrong order, and I find out the day of. And I needed them like in literally 8 hours. So I called them. They had the gobo made. I didn't have a chance to drive over there. So they called an Uber and literally Ubered the gobos to me. Freaking genius. Pro Gobo, David and Kate Meister. Tell them that Ronaldo sent you and tell them you want the Ronaldo discount. I don't think there's a discount with my name on it, but now there is. But seriously, Pro Gobo, really, really cool. You definitely won't regret that. Excuse me, guys. I'm still like sick as a dog. As soon as prom season over, and look, I know this is a little bit too much information, but as soon as prom season's over, my body shut down. I had post-prom diarrhea, post-prom sinus infection, post-prom fever, just post-prom everything. My whole body's like done, shut down, blah. All right, so let's see here. So yeah, Matt, Pro Gobo, big fan of them. Let's see. Michael asked, do you ask your clients to sign an immediate release in order for you to take pics and video out of school? And you already ordered the videos. Awesome. I'm glad you did that. Thank you for the support. So as far as that, that's really changed a lot. We used to, right? But now we really don't need to anymore because everybody's taking photos and posting them online. So what does it matter if I do it? Okay, well, it's for commercial purposes. Well, guess what? Every photo that you post to Facebook or Instagram can be used by them. So therefore, it's for commercial purposes. Oh my goodness. But not to mention that you also have photo booths there. You have a photographer there. Almost all of our schools have a newspaper there. So pretty much everything's going online. So you pretty much walk in knowing that, well, it's going to be posted online. I even have teachers taking photos and posting them on Twitter, Instagram, whatever the case may be. So we don't even worry about it anymore. Now, with our private schools, our really elite, like expensive type schools where they really worry about student safety and all that, they usually ask, hey, make sure this person doesn't go online or, just let us see the photos before you post them. But I never quite understood that. I never understood the whole, oh, don't post any photos of my children. Somebody could abduct them. Really? When? When in the history of child kidnapping has somebody ever looked at a photo of a child online and said, yep, now I know where they live, I'm going to kidnap them? That has never happened, people. So I don't quite understand that. Let's see here. And I mean, I'm not like a child kidnapper by any means. I don't study in kidnapology, but I'm pretty sure nobody's ever looked at a photo of some kid online and said, yep, I'm going to kidnap that child. Let's see here. DJ G Boy says, as a mobile DJ, do you suggest having a good sound system or good lighting? Ooh, that's a really tough question because a little bit of both, but there's the visual impact and, of course, your branding. So good sound is important. Okay, I don't care if you're doing a school dance. I don't care if you're doing a wedding. You want to make sure you sound good. And I used to think, hold on a second, sorry. I used to think that with school dances, it just mattered about it being loud, right? But as I really worked more and more making things sound as good as possible, I would have hotels telling me, oh my goodness, this is the best sound system I've ever heard. I'm like, that's awesome. I'm glad because I'm cranking the hell out of it, and I like the fact that people recognize that. At weddings, it's something really, really important. Corporate events, super important because that's my brand. When people, know that I'm going to be at an event, I want them to know that their ears are going to be blissfully treated to some of the best sound out there, right? But when it comes to selling school dances, I don't push we have stacks and stacks of speakers. You know why? Because I don't need stacks and stacks of speakers for, let's say, 400 or 500 students. Yes, you have that visual appeal, right? But guess what? Rock concerts don't even do that, which is why half of those amps are fake. If you guys don't know that, I mean, seriously, those big Marshall cabs they have at rock concerts, about 2/3 of them are fake, right? So for that, lighting is key. Lighting is that visual element. If you're doing a wedding and you're bringing tons and tons and tons of sound for that visual element, somebody's going to come up to you and be like, your system looks too loud. There's a friend of mine, Bob, he's got 23-inch subs. And he was just setting them up. He hasn't even cranked them up. He's just playing them quietly. Somebody comes up, dude, your system looks too loud. Okay, well, now at a school dance, you might think, hey, that's pretty cool. We want it to look loud. But lighting still has a bigger visual impact. If you don't believe me, try that with a school, right? Go up to him and be like, okay, look, I have this lighting package. It's $2,000. Look, you're going to get this, and look how pretty it looks. Or you just have lots of speakers. But the first sound system was loud enough for us. Yeah, but this one has more. But it's $2,000 more. But we have more speakers. They're not going to go for that. So it's really a careful balance of both. You want to make sure you have a good sounding sound system. You want something that's not going to fail on you. But you don't want to forego on lighting. And you don't want to go with cheesy lighting either because, again, it's all part of your brand. So hopefully that answered. Again, if I didn't answer it right or I didn't give you the answer you wanted to hear, let me know and I'll try to clarify it. J. Chris Fuller says, I liked your video showing how to keep your wiring clean with Velcro and Moxie cords. Do you have any other gear recommendations that makes life easier, such as roller carts, standing mats? For those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, my wife did a video on wire management. It was not me because my wife is really good with cable management. I'm not. Definitely those little tie straps that ADJ gave away, and Ariba sells them, by the way. Sorry. If you guys are still looking for those Velcro straps that ADJ gave away and they don't have anymore, Ariba sells some just like them, and they are awesome. I buy like hundreds of them. I freaking love those things. But a few different tips of things that I've, really used that I really like. Of course, the standing mats, those anti-fatigue kitchen mats. Oh, my feet feel so much better. When I'm setting up steel toe shoes every single time, I'll never use anything besides that. If you guys don't have steel toe boots, if you can't afford them, go to Walmart. They have a brand called Brahma. That's actually what I use. I use the cane version of the Brahma. It looks like a shoe. It's lightweight, but it's super strong, and it's a great shoe. And I know that may sound trivial, but until you've had a base plate almost cut your foot off, trust me, you'll love to have steel toes. Obviously, yes, rock and roller carts, all that stuff is, really good to have. I'm trying to think of things that have made my life easier. Setting up. When we're doing lighting and all that, we usually have those traditional clamps. They just kind of hinge over, and then you bolt it in, but you got to hold the light with one hand. I switched over to the snap clamp and the quick rig clamps from Global Truss, and basically they have a hook. So if you have your truss here, they hook over there. So if you let go of your light, it's not going to come crashing down. It's just going to hang there. It's carefully balanced, so you can let go and it'll still hang, and you can tighten it with one hand. And the actual wing nuts in the back versus on the top, so you're not going to have to worry about, trying to have the little actual truss cross beams in the way. That's really made life a heck of a lot easier. Let me go back to that one. As I think of more stuff, Chris, I'll kind of mention that. But that's a really, really good question. Mike asks, Arnaldo, what's the max weight of the Global Trust arch system? That's a very good question. I want to say it's like distributed, I think 700 pounds. Hold on a second. Arch. Let me see if I have it on my specs, because I actually keep everything spec'd out. Honestly, I would have to look. I want to say it's like, I don't know. It might not be 700 pounds. I would have to look on that. If you send me a message, I would be more than happy to pull that information up for you. Let's see here. Gavin says, what do you think of marijuana? Good or bad? I don't smoke, but I'm absolutely 100% pro marijuana, and I believe we should end the war on drugs. Nobody's going to do drugs because they're illegal all of a sudden. This is ridiculous. We're spending a lot of money incarcerating people instead of putting that money to get people that need help. Also, if you're doing drugs, I don't care, because it doesn't harm me. Laws should be put in place to protect you from other people, not to protect you from yourself. You want to harm yourself? I don't care. Now, if you have kids, that's a different story. And at some point, DCF needs to actually step in, stop taking kids away from parents that are really trying, and start taking kids away from assholes that put everything, whether it's drugs or gambling or even cigarettes, alcohol, whatever the case may be, above their kids. You put something above your kids, you don't deserve to have them. That's my opinion. Let's see here. Michael asks, what do you think of the Elation Proton 3K versus 3 or 4 of the ADJ Freak Matrix unit? So the Proton 3K is very similar to the Martin Atomic. If you guys aren't familiar with it, that sucker packs a wallop. 2 of those will annihilate a gym. However, 4 of the ADJ Freak Matrix units are going to be pretty bright too. I'm not sure if they'll be as bright as the 3K, but you can do more with it. If I had a choice between 2 3Ks and 4 Freak Matrix, I would go with a 4 Freak Matrix because you can do more stuff with it, right? It gives you a better visual appeal. And even if it was just 2 and 2, I think I would still go with the Matrix. If I'm doing a school dance, right? I would go with the Matrix because you have the pixel mapping and you can do all sorts of really cool special effects with them. With 4 of them, you can do some really neat things. If I'm doing a concert, if I'm going to be filling a large venue, yeah, it would be the 3Ks for sure, because those things hurt. I mean, they're more than just a crowd blinder. I mean, they will flood an entire building. So it really depends on the event that you are doing and what you want to do with it. If you want to do just specific strobes, the 3K is absolutely incredible. The Freak Matrix gives you a little bit more options because of the actual pixels in between. DJ G-Boy asks, do you think you have to have a facade to look professional? Because I'm more into scrims, because it's easier to carry and cheaper. You're not going to like my answer. I personally hate them. Not facades, not scrims, but the whole combo. Not because of what they look like and all that, right? Because I have a facade, not for my system, but for the lighting console behind me. I don't like it because every DJ has gotten really lazy and all their setups look the same. I am going to describe to you 90% of the DJ setups. You ready for this? We don't know, or the client doesn't know, because it's behind a facade. And then we have 2 speakers on tripods covered with scrims, and they're all lit up. Where's your branding? Congratulations. Your setup now looks just like everybody else's. And that bugs me. And if you want to do the facades, whatever the case may be, fine. Yes, there's a lot of benefits to them. But find a way to make it uniquely yours. To make it part of your brand. Don't make it look like everybody else's system. That should never be an industry standard. If you walk in and your system looks like your competitors, that's a problem. You need to look different. You need to look unique. As far as scrims, I don't care who it is. I don't like them. For covering tripods, I get it. I don't like how tripods look, which is why I have my DXRs on top of a sub. For school dances, I don't care. But for weddings, I have my DXRs on top of a sub with a pull in between. Much cleaner. But as far as a tripod, why would you cover a pencil with a bed sheet? That's the only way that I can describe it. You've got a tripod, bed sheet. I don't like it personally. I don't think either or make you a professional. As long as you're making money, as long as you're making a good livable wage, that is the true definition of a professional. Let's see here. Oh, and as far as easier to carry and all that, you know, if you like the facades, you might want to look at the ADJ one. ADJ has their event facade. It's really portable. Like, it literally folds into a nice little case about that big. Super easy to set up. That's the one that I've been using. Powder coated white, or you can get it in black. And now they're releasing different colored. It's got like Velcro on the actual spandex, but they have different like patterns and stuff. Something a little bit unique, again, to make your setup stand out. Michael asks, best lights for all-around weddings. Let me think what I've been using. I used it, you know, I used a couple different ones. I used the ADJ Dots T-Par because 4 of those will flood a lot. They'll flood, a big country club. And you can take out the lenses and flood even more than that. Huge fan of the Dots T-Pars. If I want to add a little bit of movement, I'll use, like, for example, the pocket twins or the pocket roll. Or if I want to do something entirely different, I'll set up 4 of the Inno Z4s. The Inno Pocket Z4s have a 10 to 60 degree zoom, and it's got RGBW wash. So you can use them as a spot, you can use them as moving heads, or you can zoom all the way out and just wash the entire building with just these 4 moving heads. And they're super small. They're like this big. So they're really nice and discreet. So my personal favorite one for weddings has been the Z4s, as far as something small and portable. Cedric asks, is it better to start with global truss on crank stands or base plates? Crank stands. Just crank stands. If you're doing over the floor, then you want to go into, the base plates and all that. But crank stands, much easier, and I recommend starting with the DT4000s. It's the middle range stand, but it's, to me, the easiest one to carry, to use, and it fits nicely inside F34 trussing. So I would say definitely go with crank stands. As you do bigger setups or you want to do something more impressive, then you would go all around truss. You crank it up, then you put your legs underneath, crank it down, lock it in, you're good to go. Dustin Clemens asks, what type of events are you booking entertainment for the most? Thought about incorporating similar axes and added service by us. Wait, hold on. Let me read that again. What type of events are you booking entertainment for the most? Oh, I do a lot of, like, let me see if I'm answering this right. But I do, whenever I do a lot of school dances, the number one thing I get asked for is stilt walkers. I've been asked for, actually, I just finished editing a video where we had like a carnival, one of the ball walkers. The guy actually stands on a ball, balances, and, juggles, does all sorts of crazy stuff. I've had fire breathers, belly dancers. That stuff has been big at schools. The thing that I don't like is that there's not a very big margin. So I want to make sure I make some money with that too. But for school dances, I think stilt walkers have been the most popular thing. I think I'm going to start pushing that for weddings too. Preston asks, ooh, I love this question. What do you think of the new Pioneer Tour CDJs? I hate them. Oh my God, when I first saw those things, I'm like, this is ridiculous. If you guys have not seen the tours, it's basically a CDJ with a big ass screen coming out of it. I don't like it. I just don't. The whole point of the whole USB stick and all that is to get rid of the laptop, because the laptop doesn't look right. So why would you put 2 freaking big screens about the size of the laptop? It would just be easier having the 2 CDJs and an 11-inch MacBook Air. I don't get that. It looks hideous. I mean, granted, if you're up on a stage, no one's ever going to see it, but what's the point? They're forcing you to use Rekordbox because they got tired of Serato. Let's go ahead and just call that out for a second. I don't know what the heck happened between Pioneer and Serato, but Pioneer basically said, screw support. Let's just go ahead and use Rekordbox. And now everybody's angry because they all have to switch to Rekordbox. And Pioneer's come up with some really creative stuff. Yeah, I'll give them that. I don't like the tours. I think it's dumb. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen, somebody actually photoshopped solitaire on it. That's exactly what I think of. Yeah. I don't like it. It was supposed to replace a laptop, but now we're going to put screens as big as a laptop. Not 1, not 2, but if you got 4 of them, 4 of those big honking screens. I don't like it. And it's more things to break. Yeah, not me personally. Mike says, thank you. You're welcome. Wildstyle 509, did you see the Alto Stealth Wireless dropping in price since they are coming out with a better model? I have no idea, and I actually have not used those. I use an entirely different system, but I've heard really good things about the Alto Stealth. I've actually heard nothing negative. That may be their very best product. DJ G-Boy says, I was more talking about the scrim on the table because I don't like scrims on speaker stands. Okay, so we see eye to eye. So if you're talking about like actual scrim on the table, for weddings, I don't even have a table. I have like actual truss legs that my coffin sits on top of. I'm going to show you that in just a second. Let me pull this up. There's a reason why I'm bringing that up. Bear with me for just a moment. Oh, goodness. I've got so much going on here. Hang on one second. Okay, I know I have a photo of it somewhere. There we go. Okay, so that is what I use whenever it's weddings, right? I don't even have scrims. I don't have a table. I have truss legs, and I've retrofit my coffin to fit on the truss legs. But for schools, I don't bring that because that's just too much for me to have to worry about setting up and all that. So I just have a folding table, and I just have a table skirt. I hate it. It looks hideous. So I am getting a custom scrim in all black made for, like the spandex ones that are really nice and pretty. Reason I say customs because I have like one of the folding tables, and I haven't really found a scrim that fits it. Plus, I want the back to be open. And I know the DJ Skirts used to sell that. I personally like that over the facade. I want people to see my gear. I want people to see me actually mixing, actually spinning. It keeps me on my toes. It gives them something visually to look at as they're dancing. So I am personally a big fan of using that kind of stuff. And then if you do all white, you want it to look classy, yes, you can light it up a little bit. Or you could do like a ultra short throw projector and even do some really cool projector mapping on there. Let me see here. Let's go down on there. Michael, vehicle branding, car wraps, thoughts. I live in Florida. People steal crap. Nothing says break into my junk like a car wrap. I know some people say it's good advertising, but you know what? My marketing is good enough that I don't need to put it on my car. Plus, I am somewhat of a very pissed off driver on the road. I don't need people knowing that the guy that cut them on the road is probably going to be the DJ for their wedding. So, me personally, I don't do it. I don't want people to know that I'm carrying gear and all that. That's just me personally. Eduardo says, hi. Okay. Then he says, what do I think about Donald Trump? I think the GOP is so screwed. Look, I love this. Because I don't care if you're a Trump fan, if you love him or hate him. I don't care if you love Sanders, hate him. I don't give a crap. Both establishments, GOP and the Democrats, are completely falling apart. And we are going to see democratic socialism, libertarians completely rise into a new system. Are we going to see 4 major parties? Not anytime soon. But things are changing. There, I'll just leave it at that. Wildstyle says, thank you for the response. You're welcome. What is the best price I have found for the Alto? He's asking Wildstyle that, so I really can't help you there. Roger says, I must be drinking caffeine like crazy. This is 2 types of Mountain Dew, right? So when I go and I get the blue Mountain Dew, the voltage, I fill it right around here, just about this much ice, and the rest is Code Red. You tell me. DJ G-Boy says, what is your opinion on wireless system for speakers? Because I know someone who has one, and it's convenient, but I don't trust over XLR. I use the Audio-Technica series, whether it's a System 10 or the 3000s, because Audio-Technica, right, or pretty much any microphone, you get the body packs, like for the lav mics, and you get an instrument cable. That instrument cable goes into a 1/4 inch. So I will go 1/4 inch out of my mixer into the body pack. The body pack transmits into the receivers. Those receivers are hooked to the speakers. Anytime I've done it, flawless performance every time. No issue. If you want something that's affordable, look at the Audio-Technica System 10 Pro. I did a review on that, so please search for that on my channel. That's my favorite. I also use the AT3000. That's my microphone that I use, though. But any Audio-Technica stuff, even their 2000 series, has been great. But the System 10 Pro, even though it's 2.4 gigahertz, has been flawless for me. Seth says, just now tuning in, Arnaldo, you got an email blast from ADJ, or just got an email blast from ADJ. Wanted to know your thoughts on this new ADJ Gobo projector called the Encore Profile Series COB LED ellipsoidal. Basically, it's exactly that. It's a replacement for the Source 4 Lico. Seth, it's bright. It does use the same type of gobo as the Source 4 Lico. There's a color version. There's the white version. I personally prefer the white version. And it's going to be really popular because it keeps that warm white. So if you still have a bunch of Licos, right? Let's say you're a production house and you have 100 of them. and you want to switch over to LEDs, you're not going to have mismatched colors or color temperatures. So yeah, it's really nice and bright. It does put out a serious amount of power out of it. And the fact that it's DMX controlled, the fact that it is relatively low heat, it's definitely a winner. If you don't want something that big, look at the Encore Profile. You will not be disappointed. I did do a shootout between the Encore Profile, the original Icon, the Martin PR1, and a Source 4 575 watt bulb. Michael says, so I've been receiving some criticism for this. I use VDJ Pro. Do you think Virtual DJ 8 Pro's real pro software like Traktor and Serato? Listen, anybody that dogs on what software you use is incredibly insecure. I had some asswipe come up to me because I use Virtual DJ. I prefer it over Serato. I like how Virtual DJ treats MIDI over Serato. I think it has more, well, I don't think, it's a fact. It has more options in Serato. If my system breaks, okay, well, I can pretty much plop anything in. I actually had my sound card take a dump on me one time. So I have to, I was literally able to go down the street, buy a little cheap sound card, and literally do my time code in. Or I can just do one turntable and time code in directly into my laptop and use that. You can't do that with Serato. But I had some buttholes like, oh, you're not a real DJ. I'm like, okay, well, how about this? How about we put away our laptops, bring out real vinyl or CDs, and let's see you actually mix without little color waveforms. Because let's not forget, Serato does color waveforms first. And they... Serato fanboys criticize Virtual DJ for the sync button, right? If you've ever used the sync button, you know that crap does not sync anything at all. I have used it from time to time, especially if I'm fast mixing, not to mix for me, but to align to BPM. So if I'm a 128 and this one is a 64 and I click the sync on that one, it'll give me the equal ratio, 64.4 to match the 128.2, because I don't want to have to sit there and just really carefully tune that pitch fader up and down. But I still drop the cues by myself. I still, mix, blend everything, manually, because if you push the sync button, it's just going to screw things up. But Serato fanboys are perfectly fine with color waveforms to show you where your bass and treble and everything else is, because I guess you're too lazy to do that with your own ears. And quantize, are you kidding me? Really? You need to quantize loops? Because if you can't do that yourself, we've got problems. So if anybody hates on Virtual DJ, Virtual DJ 8 to me tracks just as good, if not better, than Serato. Traktor tracks vinyl better than anything else. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But Traktor is very limited as far as, not having video. But their effects are so much better. Yeah, don't let it bug you, man. I use Virtual DJ 8, and you know what? I make more money than most of these guys using Serato, so I don't really care what they have to say, and you shouldn't either. As long as it's making you money, my dude, that is all that matters. Tech Geek, hey man, good seeing you. He says, thoughts on the Blackmagic products for long runs from a media server to projectors. I was looking at SDI to HDMI, vice versa. I don't do insanely long runs of HDMI. I think I've mentioned this. I hate HDMI for long runs, specifically because of that, right? Because if you do HDMI to SD, it's really expensive. I mean, that cable ain't cheap. So then there's the HDMI to Cat5, and you know what I'm talking about? And I'm sure you do, because, you're a tech geek. Those things are horrible. I've never actually been to an event where those things work the first time. It's always some stupid crap configuration. I use VGA. I'm not running 4K video, so I'm not concerned about it. VGA works just fine for me. Honestly, that's what I use, VGA or even longer DVI runs. But my God, I've run 150 feet of VGA with no issue. Can't do that really with HDMI without needing more expensive hardware. So unfortunately, I really can't answer that because I don't have too much experience in that end, because I just won't touch HDMI personally. G-Boy says, I'm in for actual speakers. Like, instead of running XLR, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Instead of running XLR from your mixer to your speakers, you use your microphone. So basically what you do is you get the body pack. The body pack is an instrument cable, and an instrument cable goes from the body pack to XLR. So you go out of your mixer. Your mixer should have, not XLR, 1/4-inch outputs, okay? That 1/4-inch output goes to your body pack, which transmits to the microphone receiver. The microphone receiver is hooked to your speakers. So that way you have wireless sound. That's pretty much what I do, and it works just great. I want to distract him. Squirrel, #clavicle. LOL, Roger. Nick says, can you explain chip on board lighting and what it is? Cheers. Well, chip on board is basically, I want to pull up a photo real quick. But let's pretend that it is the line array. I call it the line array of LEDs, right? I mean, we basically know what a line array is. It's basically a bunch of very carefully tuned drivers that all work together to push the sound out really far and at a wide dispersion most of the times. Each individual driver isn't insanely high powered, but there is strength in numbers. You with me on that? COB LED, chip on board LED, is exactly the same. Now, most LEDs aren't just one big source either. They have multiple chips. But chip on board takes it to a whole new level. And I'm trying to find... Oh, here's a good photo. So bear with me for just a second. I got to pull one up here. Chip on board. For example, like the ADJ UV Canon uses, I think, like 100 plus little LED chips inside a COB LED. So let's pull that up. There it is. So this is an example of a COB LED. This is one LED chip or board, and it has tons of different little LED chips. Each one of them not very high powered, relatively speaking, but together they work together to give you super bright and wide and far throw. But because these are crammed into such a small space, you don't get a lot of RGB shadowing. You get nice, even, natural color. Whereas with traditional, let's say, 4-diode LEDs or your tri-LEDs, when you put them against the wall, you may see a little bit of blue, a little bit of red. With individual 10mm LEDs, it's ridiculous. You could actually turn the part can in different directions and get different colors. But even with tri-LEDs, quad LEDs, and so forth, you would get different types of RGB shadowing. A COB LED pretty much eliminates most of that. Seth says, thanks, Ronaldo. I've seen your comparison, but now seeing this, and I've been meaning to upgrade to LED to save on power plus heat. Seth, unless you're doing really, really, really large venues, I think you'll be really happy with the ADJ Encore Profile. It is much smaller, much more discreet, or heck, buy both. But yeah, just don't hang them with, tie straps, okay? How to say that, sorry. Inside joke, guys. Matt says, good short throw projector, BenQ ST, which stands for Short Throw Series. I literally spent like $600 on one of them. It was a 630, something like that. It's called the 630 MXT. And it's a 2500 lumen projector, which isn't very bright. But it would fill a 20-foot screen from 17 feet away, 17 to 20 feet, depending on, which angle the projector was in. And because, even though it was only 2500 lumens, because it's such a short throw distance, it didn't need to be that bright. Short throw projectors are not that bright because they don't need to be. But I could have my 20-foot screen with lights on, and you could still see what's going on. So definitely check out the BenQ ST series. My goodness, I have a cut in my finger. Sorry. Let's see here. Wildstyle says, I wonder if G-Boy meant to say Bluetooth speakers. Bluetooth doesn't have that long of a range, but if you want something, for example, for ceremonies, the ELS Go series from American Audio is really cool because the Bluetooth receiver in there actually works pretty damn well. Michael says, I know you're an ADJ guy, but do you use any Chauvet products? If so, what do you think of them? Well, yes, you guys all know I use a lot of ADJ. I'm very brand specific. Everything I use all the same brand. That's just the way I've always been. Right down to like my guns, my cars, the airlines I use, everything. I'm very brand loyal. I actually use nothing but Chauvet. I use Show Express. I bought what the hell were they called? They were the 192 part cans. They were like their first LED cans with the Color Boss controller. I bought several of the the color strips when they first came out. They're DFIs. I had the first batch of them. But I had some problems, and I decided to switch. There's only so many, and everybody has problems, but there's only so many problems that I can have before I decide to switch. And I tried a couple other companies. I wasn't really happy with it. And then I started looking at the ADJ stuff. Well, at that point it was American DJ, and I had some experience with them. So, we bought some stuff, and one of the first items did not actually, it arrived with a couple of problems. I'm like, ooh, what's going on? So I called them, and they apologized profusely. And what they did is they actually had another piece overnight. They had another item overnighted to me, and then they just had me ship the other item back. Because I told them, look, I need it for an event this weekend. What are my options? They're like, we're going to overnight you one and then just ship the broken one back. You know, it was something rare that they don't always do that, but they've always had really good service. So then I started doing reviews. Actually, some of my first reviews were on ADJ products, on like the Spherions. That was my first ADJ, or my first review period was on the ADJ Spherions. And that was when I saw them at MobileBeat. And they started sharing my videos, which was really cool. It was a symbiotic relationship because they would share my videos. My YouTube popularity went up. I got money from advertisements. Hey, win-win, right? And then now they sponsor my seminars and all that. But I tell people I can't be bought. I will give you an honest opinion. However, I don't like saying negative things about other brands, even if it's true, because I don't want somebody thinking that, you know, I'm shilling for another company, whatever the case may be. But I can tell you on my private time, my experience with different lighting companies and, you know, who I've used, who I don't use and all that. You know, like Martin. You know, I still like a few Martin products. But I had some issues with the Acrobats. I had several Acrobats that went down. It was a whole batch, like very similar serial numbers too. Turns out that the fan inside the Acrobat was insurging. I don't know if it was an inrush current or what it was, but it would just keep blowing the internal fuse. I called Martin, like, hey, can I buy this part? No. What do you mean no? No, we don't sell to end users. Okay, so how much does it cost to repair my Acrobat? $500. What do you mean $500? So yeah, that's the thing. I want a company that I can buy parts from, and ADJ is the only company I've ever dealt with that has a parts department that's just as big as their actual warehouse. Heck, their parts department is bigger than most other companies' warehouses. And I've been to other people's warehouses. So, let's see here. Nick says, thanks. You're welcome, Nick. G-Boy. Let me say this again. The Alto Stealth wireless system uses a 2.4 gigahertz frequency, I believe, or it's 500 or 600 megahertz, whatever the case may be, just like a microphone. So it's not Bluetooth. So you can use a microphone and a body pack to create the exact same thing as the Alto Stealth systems. I'm not sure how else I can really explain that. If you're talking about a wireless system specifically made for speakers, no, I haven't found any one of them that I've really liked. That's why I use a microphone system. Tech Geek says, I was looking at SDI as an alternative to Cat 5 or 6. As a bonus, the signal can be converted to VGA as well, simply enough. Well, SDI, I mean, it's expensive cabling, but yeah, you can do a lot with it. Sorry. Honestly, I don't remember specifics. I want to say Cat 5 you can still run longer than SDI, but I haven't found a Cat 5 to HDMI system that doesn't freaking have a heart attack halfway through an event. I just won't trust it. Michael asks, what type of hazer do you currently use? What do you think of the Antari and their Z350? The Z350 is a club standard. It is a great hazer. Super small, powerful, punchy. Love the hell out of that thing. I use two different solutions personally. I use the LeMaitre Radiance. I like it. One bottle, $99 bottle, lasts me about maybe 50 events, no joke. So I've been really, really happy with it. And I even use the ADJ, oh my goodness, what the heck is it called? The Fog Fury Phase. It's a fog machine, but it basically creates a haze effect using fog, right? But I can flood an entire gym with 5 minutes with a Fog Fury Phase. It's a nice little backup to my LeMaitre hazers. But the Antari Z350 is a great little unit. And I'm going to be ending this in about maybe 15 minutes, so keep the questions coming. Maybe 10 minutes, because my throat's killing me. Roger says, what do you think of the MobileBeat asking for other people to submit ideas for new seminars at MBLV 21? Yeah, they always do that. That's nothing new. Believe it or not, they're just, I guess, maybe it's the first time you've seen it, but they've always done that. Tech Geek says, additionally, the communication is one way, so blinking the display to sync is not necessary. That's very true. And that's the nice thing about that, because HDMI being two-way, if there's one issue one way, like, you know, if for some reason your projector hiccups, it screws up your computer. I can't even tell you some horror stories that I've had with that. G-Boy says, thanks, sorry for the confusion, but I got confused when you mentioned microphone. No, it's microphone system, right? So again, body pack for microphone goes through an instrument cable. That hooks up to your mixer. That body pack transmits to your microphone receiver, but that microphone receiver is hooked up to your speaker. Matter of fact, I'm just going to do a video on it. So stay tuned on my channel, G-Boy. I got you hooked up. Tom, no, I do not vape. Let's see. Hi there. I was wondering what small moving head you would recommend for small to medium parties like proms and parties. InnoSpot Pro. But now there's the new Z3, which I forget what the heck it's called, but it's basically the InnoSpot on steroids. You're talking under $1,000. Gobo Morph because you got 2 Gobo wheels, insanely bright LED. You have motorized zoom, motorized focus. This thing is a beast. Definitely the new Z3. But maybe that means the InnoSpot Pro will come down in price, and if so, even better. Wait, Dancing Tunes. You're Trevor? Holy crap, I thought you were Roger for a second, because Roger's name's Dancing Tunes. I apologize. That threw me off. I was going to say your avatar looked different. Let's see here. Techie, yeah, you're talking about the Black Magic microconverters. I've not used it, so let me know how that works out for you. Michael, no issues with bombarding me with questions. That's what these things are for. So keep bombarding me with the questions. I'm going to be on for like another 5 minutes before I say ta-ta for now. So, give me 1 second here. I wanted to pull up something, see if I can find it. Guys, I'm dying over here. What the hell? I'm telling you, man, this post-prom stuff kills me sometimes. There was a question that somebody said, and I was like, ooh, I'll pull up some stuff here, but I guess not. However, if you're doing like smaller proms, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I guess I'll pull this up so you can see it. Give me 1 second. I did an event with the Inno Pocket Z4s. The things are tiny, but boy, they pack a wallop. I want to show you what that looks like as soon as I can find it over here. You know what? It's not pulling up. If you go to my channel and you search for Inno Pocket Z4, then you'll see my review on it. That thing can do a prom, it can do a wedding, and they're only about this big. Those things are super bright. So that's another great alternative to a moving head. All right, let's see here. A couple more questions. What do you think they should have for the entertainment next year at MBLV21? I don't know who at this point. I mean, Red Foo was definitely really cool. Jazzy Jeff was my favorite, but I was pushing for them for a long time. Man, if I had my choice on entertainment, and it's got to be somebody realistic, right? I mean, I've always wanted to see like an old school disco group like Earth, Wind, and Fire, but yeah, White died, so Bee Gees. I want to see Barry Gibb. Yo, I don't know if you guys know this, but I freaking love the Bee Gees. They were way ahead of their time. They were one of the best disco / R&B groups. I don't care who you say or what you want to say, whatever. The Bee Gees was an R&B group. Okay, How Deep Is Your Love? There was nothing disco about that. And Emotions? Bruh, come on. Destiny's Child bastardized that song. Emotions was one hell of a song. So yeah, I want to see the Bee Gees at Mobile Beat. Yeah, I know, it's an older group, but whatever. Tech Geek Sex, how important would you say contrast is to projector mapping? PRG is selling used projectors that are bright but have terrible contrast ratios. It depends on what you're projector mapping. If you're doing a cake, if you're just projecting on a wall, it doesn't really matter. But if you're going to be doing textures on a building, making the building look like it's moving, falling apart, contrast ratio, super important. Because otherwise it's going to look very two-dimensional. Now, you might be able to fake the contrast a little bit, but, you know, there's only so much that you can do. Let's see here. Seth says they should bring in a country artist. And that's true, but not everybody wants to hear country. I feel both ways about it, honestly. Let's see here. Hey, Tech Geek, would you mind sending me a link to those projectors? Or not projectors, yeah, to that auction? Just message it or email it to me. That would be great. Best controller under 400. I'm a young DJ and I can't afford top-end controllers. You're in the UK. Hang on a second. It's no surprise that American audio was a little, how do I want to phrase this? People were a little bit upset with the VMS 4.0, right? You had microphone problems, you had problems with the wall wart, but American Audio made do, and they gave you adapters to fix everything, right? Then they came out with a 4.1, which was much better, but people wanted more features, so they released the 5.0. And I actually picked one up because one of my DJs, their reloops, which we provide our DJs their equipment, they had a reloop controller and it disappeared. It was in our warehouse, it disappeared. I have no idea how. So I got the VMS 5.0, and I gotta tell you, I really like it. I did I plugged it in, I started mixing with it, very easy to use. All these little buttons slide up. It's got the really large jog wheels, really smooth faders, fader compatible, and it has a great clean sound with very minimal hiss. And it's got the 8-channel sound card, so you can run 4 decks in one shot with Virtual DJ with a custom skin. So yeah, you're talking under $400. The VMS 5.0 is a clear winner there. G-Boy says, would you recommend a controller like the Denon MC4000? Because I'm looking into getting one for small gigs. I haven't used the 4000, so I've used the 6000 and I loved it. So I can't imagine a 4000 is any different. But if you want a few extra options, go with the VMS 5.0. You definitely have more options there. Let's see here. I've not used the DJ SB2. I know one of my friends did, and it crashed on him. But I think he just had bad luck with that in the gym. So, all right. So that being said, I'm going to be logging off unless there's any other questions. Let me put this 5.0 back. 5.0, it's so cute. Ooh, speaking of the VMS, I want to show you another American Audio product that I picked up because I saw it at Molby, and I'm like, ooh, I gotta have this. Because as you guys, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm building like a whole gazebo in the backyard. I'm gonna do an outdoor screen and everything else, right? So I wanted something that I can play music from. Check this out. This is even good for like a little mobile, like for example, for mobile ceremonies, permanent installations. But this little 1U unit, this is the BT operator, okay? The media operator BT, excuse me. And it's really cool because you have Bluetooth connection, so you can connect your phone to this, you can connect your laptop and use Bluetooth. You have a USB card reader. It did read one of my SSD drives, by the way, the hard drives. It has an SD card reader. It has auxiliary port. It has microphone. You actually have a, what's it called? You've got 4 lines in here. 4 lines. You've got RCA in, or RCA out, excuse me. So what's really neat about it is that, you do have also a mic in the front too. So what I did is I actually had an event where I wanted to test this out. But I had an event where I just needed to run some microphones, nothing major. It was just a set it and forget it type thing. So I literally had my rack with the 4 microphones, and I went from the quarter inch out into XLR, and I ran it into here, and it sounded flawless. So that was actually really nice to be able to do. And then they just switched from microphones over here. So it was a really easy rental. But this is going to be my new media player for my outdoor gazebo. This thing is freaking awesome. All right, so let's see here. Let's go back up. My goodness, there's a lot of stuff. Best battery power uplights. If you're looking for bang for the buck, go with the ADJ hex pars. There's the regular Wi-Fi hex, which gives you, your hex colors. You have your RGB, white, amber, and UV. And UV is more than just black lights. You can get hot pinks, you can get cyans, lime greens, colors that were never possible with LED before. But there's also the IP version, which is much more rugged. Obviously, you can spill your beer on it, you can pee on it, you can use it outside. What I like about it is it's a lot bigger and a lot heavier, so no one's going to walk away with it. The price is insane. Let's see here. That was a question from SV6 Mustang. So yeah, look at the Wi-Fi series. Tons of Wi-Fi stuff from ADJ, and they have tons of different options depending on what you're wanting. If you're wanting a bar, if you're wanting a wide wash uplight, if you're wanting something stream. The new Chameleon also gives you a really neat effect. Let's see here. Roger Trevor says, always fun listening to Ronaldo. Thank you. Jim says, they don't crash because they are USB powered. That's not always true. It has a computer in it. Things can crash. Believe me, I've had plenty of USB products crash on me. It doesn't have to be a computer only. Wild Style says later. Well, thank you for tuning in. Tech Geek, I emailed you a link. They seem to be out of the super cheap ones, but these are still good. Again, thanks again, Tech Geek. I appreciate it. Jim says, finally lights that I can pee on. No, okay, I make that joke, but I did an event for a fraternity where everybody got really pissed drunk, and somebody started urinating on my truss stand. I don't know if you guys have ever seen how violent I can get, but they did. So, anyhow, guys, listen, thank you all so much for tuning in. Oh, wait. Oh, sorry to be advertising, but can you all please sub to my channel? More stuff coming to my channel. Are you really trying to pimp yourself out of my channel? Bruh, come on. Come on. Guy, come on. Guy, come on. Guy, seriously, come on. G-Boy says, I was told XLR cables are the same no matter the price, but do you believe in paying more for your cables? Because that's what I want to do. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to contact NLFX Pro, and you're going to ask for their platinum cables. You're going to pay about twice the same, but they have a lifetime warranty. Duh. I mean, why wouldn't you do that? And these cables are built pretty damn good. So, you know, yeah, you're going to pay twice as much as a cheap cable, but if it lasts you forever, and if it doesn't, they replace it for free, you'll never have to buy a cable again. How awesome is that? That is smart business sense. So, yeah. And I'll tell them that Arnaldo sent you, okay? You're going to ask for Ben, or you're going to ask for Kat, and tell them that I sent you. So, yes. Now they can't say they didn't say anything nice about them. And yes, I do urinate on all of my lights to test them. You know, this right here. I peed on this and it works just fine. No, seriously, guys, this thing is so freaking cool. Look at this thing. This is packed. Sorry, I'm like really happy with this. I played around with it. I'm like, this is so neat. So anyhow, guys, listen, thank you all so much for tuning in. I know this was very, very impromptu, but I won't be doing one tomorrow because I have an event tomorrow night, literally from 9 p.m. until 2 in the morning. I've got a lock-in. Kind of sort of lock-in. It's a post-grad party for one of my schools. And then I got an hour and a half drive home. So I got to find a hotel because I got an hour and a half drive home. And then I have an hour of sleep. And then I got to get up for a morning prom. I'm like, I don't want to do that. So now I got to figure that out. But once I have that, then I got to get a hotel. Yeah. But anyhow, guys, thank you all very much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure answering all of your questions. If you have not yet subscribed to my channel, do so by clicking the little subscribe button. Click the thumbs up button. Look, you can click the thumbs down button. I don't care. But you just look like a jackass doing it. So, I don't care. Because you watched, it brings up my ranking. So, either way, haters go and hate. But they're still paying the advertisement. So, that's all that matters. Also, guys, if you are doing school dances or want to get into the school dances, Master School Dances, go to masterschooldances.com. The series are on sale. It's only $1.99 for all 5 videos. Each video is between 2 or 3 hours. It will blow your mind. I promise you, there is no educational material that is for DJs that is as in-depth as Master School Dances. None. It's not a bunch of fluff of, oh, well, you should be a better DJ to charge us more. It's going to show you how. From nowhere to they're going to be started at the bottom. Now you hear bottom there. Also, check out my Kirby shirt. How awesome is that? But, Pedro just jumped in with a question. Have I used the JT Growler subwoofers? I have not. I'll see if I can, though, but I have not. So, anyhow, guys, listen. Make sure to subscribe again. I try to do these once a week, so make sure you tune in now that my prom season's over. I'm going to do them a lot more. What Grinds My Jog Wheels will be back. If you're not familiar with that, that is the after-hours show. We swear a lot. We rant. We yell about a lot of topics. Do not miss out. That is the most violent, nastiest DJ show there because my co-host Shani and Dane, we're 100% honest on everything that we are going to yell at you guys about. So make sure you guys tune in on that. We usually do that Mondays. I'll have to come up with a better schedule. But yes, thank you all so much for tuning in. Have a great night and God bless. Holy pop. Why won't this stop streaming?